Sweet Baby gets paid millions of dollars to come in and tell Sony. Can you imagine Corey Barlog or Eric Williams or any of these guys going, I don't know what to do. Thank God Sweet Baby showed up. Somebody in the chat wants to know, ask him if he liked the idea of Atreus. And God, look. Before,
okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Max. What do you think?
You know, I generally, I'll tell you, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. When they gave Atreus, I hated him. I couldn't stand him. You know, it's
right.
Like the dialogue was not that great. And then they brought in awesome writers and
from Sweet Baby.
No, not from Sweet Baby.
I know. Keep going.
Yeah, I really didn't like him. He was a little whiny bitch, you know, and I really didn't like him. And then I ended up liking him towards the end of the story. You know, it's just like it was a kid that was a pain in the ass that kind of grew up towards the end of the game. And I like that. I like what they did with him, you know.
Right. Yeah,
you know, I honestly did not like him. I did not.
I honestly, I have the same, visual response to him as I have to Aloy, which is I've seen the actor who plays Atreus. He doesn't look like that kid. He's just a kind of kid that I want to punch in the face because the way he looks. And I know that's terrible, but did you guys ever have that conversation? Like, could you make him not look so punchable, or did that not come up?
I tried my best.
Did you think he looked kind of stupid too? Like, why does he look so fucking goofy?
I did not like him. I was very vocal. You can ask a lot of people in the game.
Yeah.
I really did not like him at first, but I ended up liking him in the end. It's the only game I only got a war game. I played it 3 times, so it's like.
Oh, I thought 2018 was great.
I
great
had
game.
Fun.
I remember when Shannon came to me on the first game. I told you this. I've told this story before, but I love it because you're such a core gamer. And she was like, Jaffe, Max was up in my office saying, I don't know what this game is. But then he came back. I think she was like, oh, he played it over Thanksgiving or something where everybody could take home a beta version or whatever. And he came back and told her, she said he told me that it was really, really good.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, thank God we got Max. Because I was like, the whole time I was just like, how do we make Max like the game?
Yeah, I loved it.
Listen,
awesome.
I have one more question for you, because what comes up inevitably on this show all the time lately, and I get it, there's a lot of misinformation and there's a lot of passion around this, and I don't want to tell anybody how to think, but I want to talk about DEI and Sweet Baby and all that shit briefly with you. Mm-hmm. My experience, and again, I haven't been in the game business like at all for about 5-6 years, and certainly not working directly first party Sony before that. But my experience, and when I talk to people, is that work in the game business still, this idea that these gamers are like the people on high are coming down and saying, you have to make Atreus' girlfriend in God of War 2 Ragnarok a black girl, right? Which she was. And they're like, it's diverse, it's woke, and all. I mean, or Spider-Man, Sweet Baby gets paid millions of dollars to come in and tell Sony. Can you imagine Corey Barlog or Eric Williams or any of these guys going, I don't know what to do. Thank God Sweet Baby showed up. What do I do? How do I write? But what is your, that's my take on it. I think it's a lot of smoke and no fire, but what is your take as somebody who's been there as recently as this last huge game from Sony first party?
You know what? It always comes down to a story with me. You know, if the story and the reasoning behind something's fantastic, it doesn't feel forced. And like when we grew up, we had Ripley. You know, it's like, did that feel forced? Would that be considered DEI like these days because they have a strong female lead in there? No,
it wasn't even written for It wasn't even written for a woman actually. So
I didn't know that, but I'm just saying, Ripley. You know, it's like Terminator.
Yeah,
same thing. Very strong. You know, but to me, that story is so good that you're not even really thinking about those things. Even the I haven't seen the latest Mad Max, but the one before it, you know, it's like, again, you know, I really don't care. You know, to me, nothing really bothers me if the story is awesome. If the story is great and it's compelling, and I feel like, you know, there's no rhyme and reason why the person's there. It's just because they're there. That's fine. You know, to me, it's not. I really don't care that much. I just think as long as the story's good.
Sure. But do you have any secondhand or firsthand? I know with what you did, you probably weren't engaging with writing consultants, but maybe you were. But I mean, did you have any first or secondhand experience dealing with this idea of this pressure coming from somewhere outside or from Foster City or whatever saying, not enough black people, not enough LGBT people? Was that a talking point for you guys on the team?
Not in any company I've ever worked at. It's not been like a thing that you just you have to make. You know how it is, Dave. You got to make games for yourself sometimes and not worry about what other people think. That's some of the best games. If you're worried
Yeah.
about what everybody's thinking, you're just gonna get pulled in all directions, and the game's not gonna be great. That's why I loved working for you and
Yeah.
Corey and Eric. It's like this is the way the game's gonna be, and that's it. You might get a little bit of things, but it's nothing like, you know, nothing's gonna change Corey's mind from the way the game's
Yeah.
gonna be.
And you're not going to keep people around like me back in the day, or people like you or Corey or Eric or any of the, or Neil Druckmann. That's like, we're not short order cooks that go to work and go, please tell us what to make. They would never keep
No,
these highly skilled people at that point. So
no.
I don't know. I just find it so frustrating that, there's so many people that are angry about it on the internet. And when you really try to talk to them, or you try to say, okay, I hear you, but can you, I'm talking to Max, or I'm talking to journalists, or I'm trying to find this evidence. And it's like, I get that you may not like certain things that feel forced, but you know, it's not like Spider-Man 2, which a lot of people say that was a big offender. It was a huge hit and people loved it. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, well, you had to go do missions that you had to help gay kids get a prom date. I'm like, well, so? I mean, or don't do those missions. I don't know. I don't know. Max, I'm getting old. I'm tired of these whippersnappers on
I
my
just
fucking lawn.
I just love video games so much. I don't
I do
care
too.
what system it is, Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever. It shouldn't be an argument about things. Everybody should just love games.
I know.
And
I know.
if that makes somebody else feel great, who cares? Is that hurting you?
Here's my question, because I'll tell you what this guy who called in the other day from PlayStation said to me, but I'm curious if you see the same thing. Where do you think they're getting these worker bees from at this point for AAA? I mean, you must know by now what a nightmare it is. Now, the programmer said to me, he's like, yeah, but I love tech so much that Sony lets me play with all the newest toys and I get the top of the line and we have really interesting problems to solve. I totally get that from that position. But as a game creator, I mean, where are they finding their people from? Wouldn't most kids come out of USC now and just make their own shit?
I mean, you would think because you have all the tools to do stuff by yourself now. If you have an idea, there's enough on the internet to, there's a million tutorials. If you want to make a game now, it wasn't
Yeah.
like when we started where you had to go to school and learn a bunch of bullshit.
And you
You
couldn't even make it on your own other than like
no,
typing in some fucking code from like the back of a magazine. It's not like you could, where are you going to sell it? Where are you going to monetize it?
you can get halfway there by buying libraries on Unreal and like not even making assets. If you don't even know how to make anything, you just have an idea. You can gather everything together from the
Yep.
Unreal store, look at tutorials on how to put something together. There's combat tutorials. There's,
And you don't even
fighting.
need the tutorials. You can just say,
Oh,
oh, I'm going to take this combat module,
yeah,
put it in, and here are the 25 tweakers that's going to let me make my game a little different than their game.
100%. You
I
can ask
mean,
Chat GPT. I mean, that helps me out a lot these days.
I
Just
wanted to ask you about that. So
in learning, like not having a tech artist, and like going, how do I make, how do I make a flock of birds in Unreal, and I want them to fly around? It'll kind of lay it out for you. It won't
right.
tell you exactly how to do it, but it'll tell you a general way of how to do something. So people bitch about AI a lot.
I was going to ask you because you were at the forefront of getting the vibe of VR and AR and all that. And even though it hasn't sold like we wanted,
Huh.
there's no doubt it's transformative in a number of ways. And certainly AR will be. Are you feeling that same level of positivity and excitement over AI? I mean, I am. It sounds like you are as well.
Totally. I mean, I think it's just a tool. You know what? Don't be afraid of something because to me, a human's, you know, you are always going to think a little different than a computer. Computer's going to generalize a bunch of stuff and kind of spit it out to you, but you're going to think what's in Dave Jaffe's mind. No AI is going to fucking replicate that. It's going to, it's like,
or well, I mean, let's be very specific. So you were the effects guy on all the God of Wars up until the last one, and you did a lot of it on the last one, correct?
I did a couple of the main things in the last.
Okay,
one,
so
but just very little part. I'm going to
okay.
say
Well, let's just take God of War 2018. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So if somebody came to you and I'm like, one of your tasks, if I, is probably like, okay, when you kill these enemies, we have to have, don't ask me why, it should have been guts and blood, but whatever. We're going to have lava coming out of these enemies, right? And I'm assuming you and your team were tasked with making that look as cool as you could on the PS5. Okay, so I imagine if somebody were to come up to you and say, you can start with ChatGPT and it immediately gives you what you shipped with in 2018, you wouldn't be like, okay, I'm done. You'd be like, okay, that's the base.
Yeah,
now, how do we make it really fucking cool? And that takes you, not, why are so many creatives not getting this? Why is it where is this coming from?
I think a lot of people are afraid, afraid that everybody's going to lose jobs, or they think that if you're a writer, you can just type a couple of things in and it's going to print out this amazing story. But if you look at what it prints out, it's not an amazing story. It's a general idea of something. And hey,
but it will get better. It will get amazing. And what's wrong with that? Then build on the amazing. So what? I mean, if we could think about this, we could go back in time with AI in 2005 and say, make us this game that we're talking about, God of War, and we basically from day one we're starting with what we shipped with. It's not like we're done. We're going to be like, ooh, let's now, because everybody's going to start from there. Now we've got to build on that with our imaginations and our noodling with it. But I don't know, the internet. People should have to pass a test before they're allowed to speak on the internet. Am I right, Max?
I am. Yeah, you're 100%.
I'm joking, of course, but I mean,